Hi guys, this will be the first video in a small series that I will post here in the next couple of weeks, where we'll talk about how to shoot your PRS rifle in a competition. This will be more based on techniques and not so much wind and load data and stuff. For the first video, I just walk you through my rifle and show you guys how it's set up. It's based on the Remington 700 long action. It's an AI stock with a Timley flat trigger. Optics are on the Smith & Bendtner. It's the 4-16, and then I have badge mounts on it. I use just regular Harry's bipods, the low version of it. It's a low Valder barrel, 26 inches, semi-heavy, with a 1-in-8 twist rate. And for muzzle brake, I use the American Precision Arms little blaster. We'll talk about is the length of pull and how to measure that. Length of pull is the distance from the rear end of your buttstock and to your grip and your trigger. So a good length of pull for you is the distance from your elbow and to your firing hand. You place your stock in your elbow and then just reach your grip. If it's nice and comfort, then it's good. If you are to reach out to catch your grip or your trigger, you have to shorten your buttstock, and the other way around, of course. So the next thing we want to adjust is the cheek rest. We want to have the cheek rest adjusted so that when you lay your head on it, your eye is in the same level as your optics. What is important about the cheek rest is that you lie your head on it as you would lie on a pillow, which means that you don't push down on it or don't float above it. So the next thing we want to talk about is where to place your scope. A trick for that is to use a flashlight through the front of your scope and then see where the light is focusing. Find the point where the light becomes the smallest possible dot, and this is the distance from your scope to your eye. If it doesn't fit, then move the scope either closer or away from you. Okay guys, so the next thing you must do is to adjust the scope to fit your eyes. The way I like to do this is to turn the diopter all the way down and my parallax set to infinity. When I've done this, I'll just take a quick aim towards the sky and look at the reticle. So as soon as I'm looking through the scope, I see the reticle, and it must be clear instant when I look through it. If it takes me about a second or so until the reticle gets clear, it tells me that my eyes is getting used to the way the diopter is set, and what we want to do is have it perfectly aligned with your eyes. So each time it's just a little bit blurry, and at the instant you look through it, just turn it quarter of a turn and then repeat this process until the reticle is totally clear. So just going to give it a turn and then look again. So I need about a quarter turn more so, and I think mine will be good. So when entering the prone position, go down to your knees and then kind of crawl into the rifle in a straight line, like so. Try to feel if there's any tension anywhere in your body and try to relax those parts. Use your support hand, in my case the left hand, under the buttstock to control the height of the aiming point. And then you use the right hand to run your bolt. When you are to cycle the bolt, make sure you keep your head in position so you don't lose track of the target. One thing I will say though in terms of the prone position is to stop overthinking it or overcomplicating it. The prone position isn't what's going to separate you from the rest of the competitors. Supported kneeling position, you want your bone structure to carry the shooting position and not your muscles. First, I'm going to place my, in this case, left foot just solid in the ground. Make sure it's not up in the air like so. In the kneeling position, I want you to go as low as you possibly can. So if your mobility allows it, drop down and sit completely on your right foot. And my left hand will be placed just above the knee. Make sure it's not on the knee, so that will be my elbow against the knee, and that's kind of unstable. So bring it back just a little. place the weight of the rifle just above everything. So now it's my bone structure that's carrying the precision. If it were to go out here, now it will be my muscles. So back over here, so you have your weight above your base. So this is the supported kneeling position. First off, I place the bag just to give me some extra stability. Second point is to place your rifle as close to the center of gravity for your rifle. Drop down to the rifle, and when you do so, make sure that you have the knee of your shooting hand up, because that will give you an extra support point. I see a lot of shooters that drop down in the regular kneeling position, like so. But when you're in the position, you'll have your right elbow just wavering around here. So make sure you change your legs, like so. And then the same rule applies for your elbow as the unsupported kneeling. Place it just a bit behind the kneecap. I like my support hand above the scope, and then I run the bolt with my right hand. So the point of this, make sure you have your right knee up and use it for support, and place the rifle as close to the center of the gravity as possible. Same rule applies as the kneeling supported. First off, place the bag between the barricade and the rifle. Second, place the rifle as close to the center of gravity as possible, and square up your body towards the target. Make sure that you use bone structure to hold your position and not muscles. The way you do that is just by widening your stance. If my stance were normal, I'll have to bend down in the muscles to get down to the position. We don't want that. So widen out your stance and stretch the leg, and now it's bones that will carry my position. I know the position isn't used a lot, or maybe even at all, at PRS matches, but this position is really efficient for dry fire. Therefore we're gonna walk through it. In this position, bone structure becomes critical, as you won't be able to hold the rifle with your muscles for so long time. So first, I want you to stand with your left side towards the target, and then tilt out your hip just a bit, and place your elbow in the hip. Also, the same rule with center of gravity applies. So you place your left hand under the center of gravity of your rifle, and then we have bone structure all the way down to the ground. So the most important part of shooting is how to pull the trigger without disturbing your sights. The most common mistake is people that want to time a perfect sight picture with the trigger pull, and that usually end up in a jerk and therefore a miss. What we must learn is to pull the trigger as slowly as we can, as soon as our sight starts to be an acceptable sight picture. And what I mean by this is, when I'm entering my shooting position, there will obviously be some sort of movement in my reticle. Now, through my shooting position, I'm trying to minimize this movement, but there will always be something left. I must accept this movement and try to not think about it. So, I'm in the position, the reticle moves a bit, but I'm stop worrying about it because we are on the target and the reticle is moving within the target. So it doesn't really matter when the shot breaks. The only thing that matters is that I break it without disturbing the sights. If the position or the target is so small that my reticle is moving beyond the target, then I have to start a timing process between my sight picture and my trigger pull. But what is important here is that you don't try to time a perfect sight picture with a fast trigger pull, but try to time a slowly trigger pull with the reticle being anywhere inside the target. So again, my reticle is moving, it is beyond the target, and at some point it starts to move in, and now I start to press my trigger as slowly as I can, and the shots break within the target. So the four keywords are positioning, minimizing, accepting, and then focusing. The first one, positioning, refers to the rifle and the shooting position. Position your rifle and yourself towards the target in as good as possible shooting position. Minimizing refers to you trying to minimize the movement inside your reticle. This is done by optimizing your shooting position. If there's a strict time limit, you'll have to accept more movement. Next point is accepting. This is where you accept the remaining movement inside your reticle. This is an important step in order to time your acceptable sight picture with a good trigger pull. And the last point is focusing on the trigger. You're in the perfect position now, you've minimized your movement and you accepted the rest. The only thing that you're now focusing on is pulling the trigger as slowly as you possibly can, and therefore pulling the trigger without disturbing the sights, and then the bullet will go wherever you're aiming. Okay, so when you dry fire, I want you to isolate your training so that you're either training on movement or on trigger and sight picture. For this I'm going to show you how to dry fire movement and getting in and out of position. There's no need for a trigger pull in this drill. You only need to acquire the target and then start the drill over. If you have a timer, you can use that in order to lower your times. So just start from the standing and get into the position. And then restart the drill. Okay, so the next part of dry fire is dry firing the timing between a acceptable sight picture and a trigger pull. I usually do this in the offhand position because this is where it gets the most tough and where small mistakes will punish you the most. I recommend starting out without any target. Just get in your offhand position and pull the trigger as slowly as you can. And in the instant of the trigger breaks, watch your sights and see if there's any movement. If there's any sudden movement, you're disturbing the sights during the trigger burst. Remember, if the shutter breaks anywhere within the target, it's going to be a hit. So don't try to time the very center of the target with a fast trigger pull.